Maybe I'll just talk about gazing with a partner. You really want your guru, but you ain't gonna get it. Unless you're the lover of the guru, you can get it all that you want. But you get it when he's on his throne teaching, and you're sitting on your cushion in a room of 20 or 2,000. Don't matter. You can gaze with your teacher then. That's as good as it gets. I mean, I like to be hearing about teacher, but he probably, he gets it. Gazing lasts that long to him, he's got it, and might take you longer, but whatever. That's enough time. But up there on the throne, you got 2 hours or 3 hours, or you got 2 hours meditating before he gets there, and then he's there, for 2 hours. You can make a nice session out of that. You can make a meal out of that. The other category is, maybe you do have a mentor. Maybe you have an older student, younger student. That's a good opportunity to gaze, So gazing with a partner can get you going, can light your rocket ship, Now I understand what gazing is. And before I had no idea, that's the way it was for me, I was doing a little bit of Kundalini yoga. I was really young. I had a pretty good teacher. He was skillful. And we had, there's just like people walking off the street, it was a college, but there were like maybe 7 or 8 people in there. And we had a good class, and then he has us gaze for just randomly. This woman and I are gazing, and oh my God, I don't know what it is. Past lives, I guess. It's, it's just like a union on a different level. Or anything can happen. Stuff comes out of you, stuff comes out of her, or them, or whatever. You don't know. And maybe not that much, but usually something. But if it's your really good friend that you're spiritually helping each other and talking to each other about everything, that's, you want your lover, you want your guru, you want your spiritual teachers of all kind, and your great friend, that's the A category, I think I don't know. I'm not that experienced in all these aspects. I'm not like Will Johnson. I've taught thousands and thousands and thousands of people to gaze and done seminars with all these people learning to gaze. But anyway, me and Gary have gazed before. We've meditated a lot together, and we have dialogued about the Dharma a ton, we're good. So we're just gonna gaze, probably just here at the house, because it's Memorial Weekend, and we're just gonna go to this one little park. It's probably 2 acres, and there'll be 400 people there camping out. 300, 250, 200. It'd be a lot of people around. And then then we're just gonna walk out in the water and gaze, not with each other particularly, but just gaze and it's sort of like doing qigong in the water, you might say. That's what I do. You could do a lot of things. If it was me and my consort, we'd be doing water monkeys to beat the band. And Yabyum standing, probably our genitals in contact. You don't need to have tortoise out there in the water. It's really not that great. It's best to do this in the water and then go have tortoise on land, I would think. I mean, that's my opinion, but whatever. But having your genitals in touch is fantastic. The best warm-up you could imagine. And play, you could just do it for hours, you know, it's just so much fun. And a lot of it's that resilience you're getting into, I guess. I don't know, I didn't even understand it back then, but that's part of what's going on, but it goes big. It's the moving around and, you know, loosens you, I don't know. Before you didn't know how to dance with a Dakinis, like a Daka or a Dakini, and then now you do, you know, it's a big shift. There's so many levels, I can't even describe it, but the water is a huge factor. Like, probably the best place to be, I don't know. It's all good. It's a place and time, you know. If you're in a swimming pool with millions of people around, it can be a little strange, but there's really no problem. But, you know, if you're in a swimming pool by yourself, that's pretty special, too. But you get out there like in Rockport Bay, and the waters are moving, but it's not too right. Being out in the surf is fantastic, but you know, it's beating you up a little bit. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good, but the best thing to be is to be in that bay where the water's, that's the best thing. Oh my gosh. But it's the water. It's the water, you know. It's the movement in the water that moves you. You got your way of moving, and that's huge, and then the water's got this way of moving you, and it's all good. But I've been going out by myself now for, I don't know, it took me a while, you know, I was in mourning for a long time when I got dumped by my girlfriend, but I figured something out, you know, and today me and Gary maybe we'll figure something else out, whatever. I'm hoping I can teach this to people. Maybe I can't, you know. I have to drag Gary around sometimes to get him to go, but he's good. He's a good student. Good friend. And we're like, you know, we're kind of like teach together. We teach together. He's a good student, you know. He has questions and he's curious intellectually. He puts in his time on the cushion. And he's looking for a guru. He goes to see Adam Tipton. He probably not the guy, but he went to see somebody else. He'll find one. You know, one thing I will say about gazing with a partner, but me and Betty, I don't know, I always did this. What was your experience? Each one has something to say. I didn't often have a lot to say. She was quite talented in the visionary world. That girl, you know, she just started meditating. She's seeing Vajra chains, you know. I mean, she had done this a lot in past lives, and she had built up some good karma with meditation. So, you know, it was not hard for her to be right there. And she was intuitive and visionary, you know. It was hard to get her to do things sometimes, but once she did them, and she must have been a little competitive, I guess. I don't know. I guess we're all a little competitive, but she loved to show me who was boss, but and I should have taken the clue and said, "Oh, fuck, she's the boss," you know. But because I always had to push her so much, you know, I was always having to. She didn't really want to do it, you know. She'd just as soon get drunk, you know. So it's good to gaze with somebody, and now let's get your gazing practice going, and then you don't need that, you know, you don't need that crutch or that. But you know, or you get enlightened gazing with somebody, you know. Rumi and Shem's was the right hand of God, you know. He was. The difference between Muhammad and Shem's altar breeze was that Shem's altar breeze was alive and brought Muhammad up to date. I mean, he was the right hand of God. But he didn't have anybody to gaze with. He didn't have anybody to share his wisdom with, you know. He couldn't talk to anybody. It's lonely at the top. In a way, Trungpa Rinpoche, you know, they all say how lonely it is. And there's nobody you can talk to. That's the human condition. The human condition. You want to know why you're so sad? Here's why you're so sad. Because there's nobody to talk to about your true experience, you know. Here's what happens, you know. You're a dumbass. You meet your guru. You travel, you know, a period of time with your guru. And then your guru kicks you out, or you just say, well, I have to go on my own now, I guess. You figure it out yourself or whatever. I got to go out and practice my guru's teachings. He gave me all these teachings. Now I got to go out and practice and put them into practice. And in Milarepa's case, you know, it was... I don't know how many years he spent in caves, you know. But his teacher told him, get the fuck out, you know. Go sit in the cave, you know. Think of me. And you get enlightened out there. And all you want to do is tell somebody about it, you know. Oh my God, my teacher taught me all this shit, but I didn't understand. I was dumber than dirt, you know. I didn't understand nothing. Now I better go. Now I want to go to my teacher and say, oh God, you were right all the time, you know, if only I'd known, you know. Then your teacher, you find out your teacher's dead, and then, you know, you spend the rest of your time looking for somebody to talk to in a way, but you know there's nobody to talk to, you know. But if you're Trungpa Rinpoche, you know, then Delgo Khyentse shows up, you know. And there's nothing to say in a way, but they're talking to each other all the time. But probably Trungpa Rinpoche never met anybody else, you know. But you know, I'm sure when he was around those great teachers, there's no problem. But he's the only fucker in the West, you know. He's in the West. There's nobody. You know, he met Suzuki Roshi, and that was big. That was like his father, you know, particularly after he came to the West, you know. He had two great gurus, you know. He was not lacking for father figures along those two guys who were around, you know. Jamgon Kongtrul of Sechin and Khenpo Ganchar. His first guru died when he was a little younger, and then Khenpo Ganchar, you know, got killed by the communists. Then he's like, you know, a big to-do. You know, he's the #1 young Tibetan person in a period of unbelievable crisis and turmoil, and people are like leaning on him to save the whole nation. then he meets Suzuki Roshi, and it's like he finally found a friend, you know. And he eats Suzuki Roshi organization for lunch. Half of the students of Suzuki Roshi came over to Trunk for Rinpoche, you know. So for Suzuki Roshi, it was a little bittersweet. But he did it, you know. He told his students, yeah, there's somebody coming, and after he comes, you know, he didn't, you know, resist, you know. He had a hard time understanding Trunk for Rinpoche, but he knew he was talking to somebody. They were, you know, they were one mind as well. They planned out the next 400 years of Buddhism in the West together, and Trungpa Rinpoche and Suzuki Roshi implemented it. You know, Suzuki Roshi said, "I'm going to send a bunch of my students over here to study with you, and you send a bunch of yours over here to study with me." And except none of ours would go over there and stay, you know, but all his came over and then more. They all stayed and then more. You know, and he was totally devoted, Trungpa was, to the Karmapa. Totally devoted. But there was some tension there. The Karmapa's group wanted to eat us, you know. And Trungpa Rinpoche was saying, don't let those fuckers eat you, you know. Us, whatever you do, you know. As far as and, you know, the Karmapa had fucked up a little back in Tibet. He told everybody there's nothing to worry about the Chinese. You know, he got a lot of people killed. I mean, there were other guys behind. The Karmapa developed himself from the time Trungpa Rinpoche knew him as a young man, and when they reconnected, and you know, he wasn't sure, you know, but as soon as he saw the Karmapa, he was just like, you are it, you know. Karmapa had transformed himself from the guy that told everybody, don't worry about the Chinese, it's all going to be fine, and then half of them get killed, to the Karmapa that we met in the West. He had transformed himself. I'm sure he was no slouch then, but he was young, you know, everybody said the same thing, you know, it wasn't just the Karmapa, but Karmapa should have said, let's all run for the hills, and it would have saved a lot of people, whatever. He didn't cover himself in glory in that phase of his life, but there was plenty of glory later on, you know. But I don't think Trungpa Rinpoche and the Karmapa were buddies quite like Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, His Holiness.